And that's right. We are back for another episode of The Real Lil Show. It's going down, just so you know. Say it ain't so. Okay. Man, when I tell you we got a stack show on this Friday night that we are recording this episode, right? I made time during my Friday, right? I could be chilling right now. I could be watching a movie. I could be in a jacuzzi, right? But I said, you know what? I'd rather be on the air because I care. There's a lot of stuff going on right now in the sports world, and I want to break it down with my guy Lee. All right, game 7 is upon us like a hippopotamus, okay? Like Nostradamus. It's going down, okay? I promise it's going to be a good game. At least I believe so. I would hope so. It's game 7, winner take all. When it goes to the NBA Finals, I'm expecting nothing less than a good game. I'm looking forward to it. We're going to break it down. Also, Abdul Carter and Jaxson Dart keeps going back and forth. I thought it was over, but clearly it ain't over. And of course, when you say something like that, when you make political statements like that, it's never going to be over. So we got more to break down. Comments were made. MAGA, make Abdul great again. Okay, make Abdul great again. All right, talk to Abdul Carter, please. Okay, tell him to let it go. All right, let it go. Let it go. All right, it's going down. Just so you know, I got my guy Lee in the building. The Real Little Show starts now. Lee, how you feeling, man?
I'm good, man. I'm good in the Charm City this week, up in Baltimore and chilling. Nice weather, nice cool weather. Not like in Houston when it's burning up. So I'm loving it. I'm loving it, and I'm loving these topics, Leah, because I think they something that needs to be talked about. So I'm ready to jump in there, man. I'm ready to jump in there.
And we also got more topics, right? Adam Silver came out to address tanking with some new rules that were implemented when it comes to the lottery. We're going to break that down. And also Kirby Smart. Is Kirby smart or is he Kirby dumb? We're going to talk about his comments that he made about college football in the SEC. But anyway, we might as well begin with topic number 1. And that is the big game 7 that's going to go down tomorrow night. We got the Thunder and the Spurs. Winner will play my New York Knickerbockers in the NBA Finals. And you know what, Lee? I feel like I should mention this, right? I almost doomed our championship hopes this week. I was actually coming from work. It was what was it? Wednesday, I believe it was. It was maybe yesterday, actually. I think it was yesterday. I was coming home from work, and there was a double parked car ahead coming up. I'm like, who's this idiot? Who is this idiot that's going to double park their car in a lane like that when I'm actually driving? And then I saw the woman come out. She had a Knicks jersey. And I'm like, oh, okay. Let me make sure I do not hit this woman, because I do not. That would be the all-time jinx. Your team finally makes the finals, and you're gonna run over a Knicks person, a Knickerbocker. Hell, I had to swerve. I had to make sure that I didn't touch that lady. I'm glad that lady's safe. We don't want to jinx the Knicks. Okay, it's all about the New York Knicks. I'm looking forward to it, but we got to find out who we're gonna play, and that's what we're gonna break down right now. Lee Jones, who are we going to play? Will that be the Spurs or the Thunder? Hit me.
Yeah, it's been back and forth. Game 5, the Thunder sort of imposed their will a little bit on the Spurs, really blew them out. Game 6, the Spurs returned the favor. It's sort of been up and down every other game. The team takes advantage of it. But this is the big one. It's in Oklahoma City. In this one, I think whoever, and you said that Wemby is the MVP, he should be the MVP. That's what you said, Leo. I said it was SGA. We're gonna find out, right? Game 7, winner take all. It's there. Whoever is the most valuable will win it. And so for me, I'm gonna take the Thunder. I think it's gonna be a close game. I don't think it's gonna be one of these blowouts, because I think you're going to get maximum effort from everyone in this game. So I think it's going to be a close, highly contested game, very physical. I think one thing we need to watch out for in this game, Lil, is who gets into foul trouble, right? Who gets it? Will SGA get some of the Thunder players in foul trouble with all of his, hesitation and faking and doing his thing? If they can get them in foul trouble, hey, then they have a great advantage. Also, if Wemby, I've said it throughout the year and throughout the playoffs, if Wemby's down in the post and dominating in the post and getting that team in foul trouble, San Antonio can win. But I'm going with the Thunder because I think they have the best closer in basketball in SGA. I've said it all year, and I don't think anything changes this time. I think SGA plays well, and I think the Thunder takes it and go on to play your New York Knicks in the finals.
And the Thunder will get swept, respectfully. Okay.
Hey, more on that in the near future.
I mean, look, I think I speak for America. We want to see the Spurs and the Knicks. That's more favorable. That's something that we feel that will be a good matchup. Victor Wembanyama versus Jalen Brunson. And you know what? I think it's going to happen. And I don't know if it's me and my wishes playing into my mind, because sometimes you could talk yourself into a prediction, and maybe I'm doing that. But I'm going to go with the Spurs to advance to the NBA Finals. They have the guys to slow down SGA. They have the perimeter defenders to slow down SGA. They have Victor Wembanyama to slow down SGA. And when you look at that game 6, Lee, SGA had a pedestrian game, 6 of 18 from the field, 0 for 5 from the three-point line, finished with 15 points. Now, obviously, the referees has been a topic of conversation when it comes to the calls and the failing and the, trying to draw fouls and whatnot. And look, for good reasoning, the Spurs have been getting fleeced when it comes to a lot of the referee calls. SGA been getting to the line like it's nothing. However, in game 6, I thought the referees did a fair job. Right, I thought they did a fair job of how they called the game. They were pretty consistent in the way how they called that game 6. Right, it was letting a lot go in that game 6. He had only 3 free throw attempts in 28 minutes, and to me, that signifies a lot because he had his worst game of the season in the series, rather, in game 6, and it was reflective in his free throw attempts as well. Now, can the Spurs do that again? I think that's easier said than done. Right? It's easy to say, oh, stop SGA, make sure you don't get to the free throw line. Yeah, okay. Very easy, right? No, clearly it's not easy. So if the Spurs cannot get into foul trouble, if the officiating is fair all across the board, if Wemby dominates like he did in all the games they won in this series, every single game that they won 3 thus far. All 3 games, Wemby dominated those games. If he can dominate in this game 7, and impose his will, like you've been saying, like I've been saying, then I think they have the right. I think they have the team. They can slow down SGA. They've been doing it. Chet Holmgren is a non-factor in this series due to his physical limitations, okay? That allows the Spurs to put wings on him because guess what? He can't overpower them, right? He hasn't developed a off-the-bounce game. Jalen Williams is going to be out for game 7. That was just official. Yep. So they're not going to have that number 2. Look, Alex Caruso is a very good player. He's that type of guy that, he makes championship plays. He has championship effort. Game 1, he went ballistic scoring the basketball. Am I expecting that in game 7? No, but he doesn't need to. He can still impact the game because he's a playmaker. What he does is he does the little things. He out hustle you. So I'll be worried about that a little bit. But if he can miss a couple 3-pointers as well, I think SGA is going to have to be the back-to-back MVP in this game in order for them to win. And I think the Spurs may have found something. They have the bodies to be able to slow him down. My main question is, how is the game going to be called? How disciplined are the Spurs going to be when it comes to that feeling that SGA loves to do? So I'm going to go with the Spurs. I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to pick the Spurs to win this series in advance to play my New York Knickerbockers.
That's your heart speaking because you don't want any part of SGA, Leo. That's what that is. I know what it is. You can go ahead and say that. Don't be bashful. Say it. You don't want any part of SGA. I get it.
My guy Ray believes like how I believe. Salute to Ray.
Well, look, Ray's a Wemby guy. I get it. Everybody loves Wemby.
This Ray right here can see. Okay.
And let's say this. I think the nation wants Jalen Brunson and the Knicks, the Mecca against the new and rising star in Wemby, right? They want Wemby on the national stage. It's not going to happen because SGA is the man. And Leah, let me say this. The one major point, and you're right, San Antonio has defended SGA well, especially in the last game, but it happens at the expense of Are the Thunder going to be hitting those wide open threes as they play that little shell zone that they play up top? If the Thunder is making threes, it's a wrap because then they have to go and play SGA man up. And that's poison right there. That's a slow death for them if they have to play SGA with any of their defenders man up for the whole game. So it goes thing that's going to be the telling story is whether the Thunder are making threes to free up SGA to be the two-time MVP. And if that happens, the Thunder's going to be fine. They're going to win. Now, if it doesn't and they're missing threes the way they've missed in game 1 and game 4, they've missed threes. And so that's what's the telling tale. So we're going to see early on. If they make threes, the Thunder's going to be a problem. Victor, he has to get in the post and he has to dominate. But remember this, you see Wemby gets tired in those the second leg of those games where he dominates. It seems like he always comes back. And that follow-up game, he's a bit lethargic. He stays outside on the perimeter too much. Is that a conditioning thing? I don't know what it is, but it happens. If he's not down in the post, Lil, it's a wrap. I take the Thunder all day, every day.
Look, Victor can rest in Cancun. Okay, let's try to win this game. Let's try to dominate this game. And you're right. You know, it's going to come down to the Thunder's ability to knock down open shots because clearly the Spurs are obsessed with SGA for good reason.
Yeah.
You got to stop the head of the snake. And there were times in that game 1 where you saw Victor Wembanyama have to make a decision whether to stay in the paint and help or to go out and guard Caruso on the 3-point line. And a lot of the times, Caruso, he chose not to go after Caruso, and Caruso was knocking down open threes. So we'll see how, you know, they play, especially if the Thunder are knocking down threes and what that adjustment will be like. But for me, and I want to give credit to the Spurs, right? And salute to my guy, Dylan Harper. I think this guy is the real deal. He showed up in that game 6, turning in 18 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists. Now, I think if he gives you another outing similar to that, then obviously the Spurs will win. But one thing the Spurs cannot do is let OKC out hustle them. Like, I feel like when I watch these teams play, one of the things I've noticed is that the Thunder, they do the effort plays a little bit better. They can't allow them to do the little things better. They are the defending champs. They are at home. So they got to make sure that they're not being out hustled. Now, look, when you look at the Spurs, man, I want to give them credit too because they're a very young team. They're not supposed to be doing what they're doing right now. Castle had about 20 turnovers in the first 2 games of this series. And he I believe he only had 1 in the last game. He's actually playing better as the series is going on. Julian Champagnie, Bishop Loughlin alum. That's my guy right there. Me and him went to school together, okay, at Bishop Loughlin. He couldn't buy a shot off the internet earlier in the series. Last couple of games, he's been knocking it down. His play has been elevating as the game is getting more intense. And you don't really expect that from a young team. You would think the higher the moment, the bigger the moment, they will start to disappear. But it's doing the opposite. The closer the game, they're stepping up. The longer the series goes, they're playing better. Game 6, faced with elimination against the defending champs. They responded. They won that game. You don't expect that from a team that don't really have anybody over 25 years old on that roster. So they are definitely handling BI, and I expect them to do so tomorrow night and win and beat the Thunder. I'm going to call it like I see it. Victor Wembanyama believes that he was robbed. He knows he has been robbed of that MVP, and I think he's going to have a point to prove tomorrow. And I like the Spurs advancing to the finals to play my Knicks. Lee, I'll give you the last word.
My last point is this, Lil. If at the end of the game, if Wemby has more shots in the paint than he does on the perimeter, San Antonio has a great chance to win. If he has more shot attempts on the perimeter than inside, they're going to lose, and they're going to lose hands down. That's the key to the game. Wemby being down in the post, Wemby not getting in foul trouble, and Wemby being able to play extended minutes, Leo, because the atmosphere inside of the arena is going to be so amped up that it takes some of the adrenaline out of you. Can he play long stretches of time? Those are my 2 or 3 factors in this game, and we'll see how it plays out. I like the Thunder.
And how do the Spurs look in the non-Victor Wembanyama minutes? That's going to be another X factor. Okay, can they ride the ship with him on the bench, and how long is he going to be on the bench? How much minutes is Victor Wembanyama going to play
He has to play
for the
heavy
winner take
minutes.
home?
He has to play heavy minutes.
I would agree. I would agree. And we are going to move on to topic number 2. We're going to make it do what it do. And let me know, guys, in the comments who y'all think is going to win and why, and who should the Knicks rather play.
We all know that the Knicks want to play San Antonio. They don't want any part of OKC. They don't want it.
I agree with you. Even if the injuries, we don't know what is going on with Jaden Williams, right? We don't know. Chet Holmgren obviously is a non-factor in this series. Could he be a factor in the next series? Possibly. But even with all those questions, Lou Dort unplayable at this point. It looked like, right?
Yeah.
I still would rather play the Spurs. I would agree with that. All right, we're gonna move on to topic number 2, and we are going to talk about Jaxson Dart and Abdul Carter. I'm going to play 2 clips back to back because, ladies and gentlemen, what we thought was just a little thingy thing has rose and has gotten significantly exercised. Let's hear it from Jaxson Dart first.
Being asked and given the opportunity to introduce the President of the United States, my thinking was pretty simple, in the fact of, I've always loved this country. I have extended family members who have fought in wars. I have 2 uncles who have retired from the Air Force Academy and served themselves. And I even have a great-grandfather who served as Secretary of Treasury at some point. So the president position has always been a position that I've well respected, regardless of political affiliation, regardless of political party. And my intentions were just that.
Let's hear from Abdul.
Bigger than football. And this is one of those things. Jaxson is one of our leaders. He's the face of our franchise. He not only represents himself and what he does, but he represents all of us. And that goes for anybody who wears a Giants uniform. But if he chooses to align himself with a man like President Trump, it's my responsibility, based on what I believe and what I stand on, to not only show my teammates that I'm against that, but to show the world. And that doesn't mean that we have to spread hate. It doesn't mean that me and Jaxson hate each other or we have beef. I sit next to Jaxson every day. Every team meeting, we close, we talk. We just, as long as we make sure we got the same goal as a team and our goals align, which they do, and I feel like that's all that matters. So I just want to move past this, and yeah, that's it.
All right, Mr. Lee, I see that you're shaking your head there. The question is, how should John
Harbaugh? My glasses because I'm gonna cry for Jaxson Dart. Oh my God!
How should John Harbaugh handle the situation?
Yeah, well, let me cry. I'm tearing up for Jaxson Dart. He was about to cry. He was feeling so emotional. My grandfather was in the wars and all that. All of this stuff means nothing. Means nothing. You can salute your grandfather and father and uncle and aunt on Veterans Day, right? But the issue is, and I said this on our last show, how your teammates will deal with it. And I knew there was going to be a problem, not only with Abdul Carter, but with others. Kayvon Thibodeau and others in that locker room had an issue with it. That's why they had to have a closed door meeting, because it wasn't going to stand right. Now, the media is trying to sugarcoat it and say this is a blip on the screen. This may be good. It brings them together. It doesn't bring them together. It tears them apart, because the players thought Jaxson Dart was one way, Leo, and now they are second guessing those thoughts and feeling he's another way, and that's not going to change. And so, that Jaxson Dart, cry me a river. I love Abdul Carter standing on business. I love what he said. I love how he said it. He said he can have his views, but I have mine, and I'm not backing away from my views. That don't mean I hate you, but I'm going to call you out on what I feel is wrong. I love that about Abdul Carter. Hey, he's a Giant, but heads up, and kudos to Abdul Carter. How John Harbaugh is going to handle it? John Harbaugh supports Donald Trump. He went to a Donald Trump rally. So he probably was the one that called Jaxson Dart and said they want you to introduce the president. So he bags Jaxson Dart, of course, but how those players handle it with the coach, the new coach, hey, that's going to be something we keep our eye on as well. So I love what Thibodeau did. Jaxson Dart, cry me a river. Right now, you're looking so sad and pitiful. And then Jim Harbaugh, I think Jim Harbaugh is going to fall in line with support of Dart, but it's still going to be an issue in that camp as long as it's out there. And now we know that both of them are Trump supporters.
All right. It's time for me to end this madness now. I tried to, on the last show, on your show that we did, Lee, I tried to play very neutral. I was very neutral. I thought I was fair. Normally I'm very radical. Normally, I if I take a side, I'm hell bent on it, and I'm going to back that up to the fullest extent. I thought I played that game very fair, and I think it was rewarded in the views that I got on TikTok right now, which is 21.7. It literally just went from 4 to 7. Okay, so that video is trending right now as we speak. But I just can't. I can't play the games anymore, man. I gotta go radicalize here. Now, Abdul Carter is. Look, I'm gonna try to be nice at the same time.
Don't be nice. Come on with it.
John Harbaugh should discipline Abdul Carter.
Oh my God.
Period.
Oh
okay?
my God.
Now, look, I'm not like today's people who believe that freedom of speech should, only be one way. I believe it goes both ways. I'm a big advocate for free speech, even though the party that he probably supports based off of his stance was the one that tried to diminish freedom of speech. It was Hillary Clinton who came out in a video, I saw it, that said that, we need to control free speech on social media, because if we don't, we will lose control. Right? It was the Democrats that pushed that, we got to censor. It wasn't the Republican Party. And
I don't believe that. I don't believe that, Lil, but I'll let you keep talking. I don't believe that.
You don't have to believe it. The facts are there, right? And that's good. The thing about Google is that you don't got to believe it. It's there, right? Yeah. And I seen it. This was somebody who, at one point, and not to really get into my political side, because to be honest with you, I think both the Republican and the Democrat is full of caca. Okay, be honest with you. Right now, I do have more conservative values. There's certain things in the conservative standpoint that I agree with a lot. And there's a lot of things with the Democrat Party that I do agree with, but a lot that I feel is way to the left. And I'm not a fan of it. And those are stuff that we don't really have to get into.
Right.
So as somebody that was at one point on one side, then I became more in the middle, I can tell you this for a fact. It was the Democrats that was pushing for the abolishment of free speech.
That's not true, Leo. I can't let you. I can't let you say that.
It was.
Let you say it, but go ahead. I'm gonna let you finish.
Under Biden, all these right wingers were censored, deplatformed. Alex Jones, to name a few. Other people. Like, this is legitimate. Now, with that being said, no matter what my politics are, I believe that Jaxson Dart has a right to attend whoever presidential election rally he wants to. In the same way, I think Abdul Carter has a right on his personal platform to express how he feels. That I agree with. However, from a football locker room perspective, him calling out a teammate, okay, that's a foul. That's a flag. You don't call out your teammate. Right? That's one thing you don't do. And not only did he did that, John Harbaugh had, the wherewithal as a coach to organize a meeting. Now I get it. It was, the id and whatnot. And I know he's Muslim and whatnot. That part, I'll probably put a little bit more blame on John Harbaugh, because, the awareness to know that, all right, he's Muslim, whether or not he's devoted, right? Because he has his own personal issues. Don't make me bring up his background. I don't want to do that to the brother, right? I don't want to, kick somebody while he's down, because we could pull up his file. He's not a saint. But if he is a person that, despite his faults, right, is a devoted Muslim, we respect his holiday. John Harbaugh, what are you doing? Having an organized meeting on his holiday where he's not going to show up, because he's the reason why the meeting is happening. So I don't understand that. So I get on John Harbaugh more in those regards than Abdul Carter or Jaxson Dart. Now, if we bring it back to Abdul Carter, there's a code when it comes to sports. What happens in the locker room stays in the locker room. You have a locker room with different people from different nationalities, different religion, and different political views. You don't air them out on social media. That's a foul. And what John Harbaugh needs to do is find this brother. Find him. Okay? Do something. Okay? Because it's not right. It's one thing to have your, stance and whatnot. You brought up Colin Kaepernick on the last show. Totally different thing. What Colin Kaepernick did was he did something peaceful by himself. He didn't call out his teammates. He didn't call out the NFL until after the situation happened. Then he started calling out the NFL. That's why he don't have a job. But it wasn't because he didn't call out nobody. He did what he did peacefully, right? And he had the right to do it. But, obviously everything else happened. It's irrelevant. What Abdul Carter did was he called out his teammate. That's a foul. And that's why he should be penalized for it.
Look, Leo. First of all, man, I don't know what to look. Are you drinking something over there in a cup or something that I don't know about? Let me say this.
If Steph Curry can go to the Democratic presidential convention, right, and do a video. He wasn't there physically, but he did a video in support of Kamala Harris, right? Nobody called him out. You think every NBA player on his team or in general or Democrats? No. But they respected his viewpoints.
No,
if you look at the assassinations, right? And I'm gonna let you get in here. If we look at the assassinations recently, we had an assassination of Charlie Kirk. Now, I don't believe the official narrative of that one. I don't believe it panned out the way how they say it. I don't believe it was a transgender dude that was a left-wing Democrat that, shot him in the neck and whatnot. That's what they put out there. I have my own theories. I think it was something deeper. But again, that's another topic for another conversation. And I already talked about it on my show. You can look it up and see what I really think happened. But let's go with the narrative. It was a transgender guy who was a Democrat, a Kamala Harris supporter, that shot a political conservative activist in the neck. We don't see that from the other side. So why is it with the Democrats is this, you got to shut down or we got to shoot you in the neck? Why isn't it happening on the other side? Like, why is everybody here so radicalized? Come on, we need to stop it. Politics is for everybody. We have our own views. We have our own, what we believe in. And it's not even about Trump half the time, right? Forget Trump. Sometimes we have conservative values, right? We believe that men and women should play in opposite sports, right? It's little stuff like that. So to me, this has gotten way too out of hand, and Abdul Carter needs to be disciplined. Lee, I'll give you the mic.
Boy, I tell you that. Like I said, I don't know what's going on over there, Leo. Did you sip something in between one of my takes? A couple things. The guy that shot Charlie Kirk, there's something in that water. I don't care what anybody says. He was a registered Republican, the guy that shot Charlie Kirk. He was a registered Republican. But I'm going to get off of that. The reason nobody talked about Steph Curry was
boy on top of that. But needless to say.
The reason no one talked about Steph Curry was if you said something, you might have got cut the next day. Steph Curry is the godfather, so you're not going to say anything. Jaxson Dart, first of all, you said what happens in the locker room stays in the locker room. This didn't happen in the locker room. This was out in the public for everybody to see it. So this is not a locker room issue. And also, it's not an issue that John Harbaugh could fine Abdul Carter anyway under the Players Association. He couldn't fine him for that. He spoke his mind. Look, John Harbaugh supports Donald Trump. So if he supports Donald Trump, he's not going. He didn't care if it was a Muslim holiday or anything. You know why? Because he called the press conference to clean Jaxson Dart as opposed to anything else. So this was about in the public and the media cleaning and whitewashing Jaxson Dart to make him look like a good guy as opposed to anything, because Harbaugh is a Trump supporter, and that's okay. If you support Trump, you support Trump. But Abdul Carter had every right to say what he said. There is no fine for that. As a matter of fact, other players in the locker room feel the same way. And so this was an effort to clean and whitewash Jaxson Dart's image, as the quarterback of the Giants to show the fans out there that was upset as well that the team is unified and let's move past it. But you know what, Lil? That's not going to happen because you cannot undo what was done. You cannot undo people's feelings about President Trump and the people that support him. You can't undo that. Everybody has a right to do whatever they want. If Dart wants to do that, if anybody wants to do that, it's well within their right. But you don't get to control how other people view that. And that's what Jaxson Dart found out. You don't get to control how your teammates view it, how the Giants fans view it, how other people around the league view it. You don't get to control that. You can only control what you do. And that's something that he found out. And that's why you don't see a lot of current NFL players, NBA players supporting Trump. You see some retired people doing it, but you don't see current people because of the backlash that comes with that. So he definitely has a right to do it. I support his right to do it, but certainly the backlash and anybody that does that have that right, Lil. And you need to put that water bottle down because there's something in there that's got your mind going in a different direction. There we go. Back to you, my brother.
Great creation right here. Water for everybody to drink. But also, just like water, we have a brain to think. Okay. And we need to exercise the brain. Right now, let me go back to Abdul Carter because it's almost like you talk about Super Bowl champions and NBA finals winners and whatnot. There was one common tradition after those games. Guess what? You get to meet the president. Don't matter if you're Republican, don't matter if he's Democrat or whatnot. Everybody goes and meets the president. Why? Because there was a level of etiquette. There was a level of class. I may not agree with that president. I may not have voted for that president, but guess what? As respect and honor, it's a privilege to be able to attend the White House. Okay? Point blank, period. But now we live in a culture, in a society that tells every American that you must be on one side. Right? You can't be on the other side. So forget about what you feel. You need to be right here. And if you're not right here, you're this and you're that. No, America's not built like that. I'm sorry to break it to people. Right? If you want an America that's one-sided, get out of America. Point blank, period. Okay? And yeah, we're getting radical here because it's not America. America is built on, us being able to be different, having different religions, and living the way how we want to live. Again, there's certain things that's being promoted in this time right now that I'm not a fan of in general. It's been promoted for the last decade, right? There's a lot of things that I don't like about this culture. I live in New York. I hate New York. I hate what New York stands for. I hate the people that live in New York, right? Some of the people that live in New York, right? I believe that New York is definitely one of them type of countries where people don't, states that people don't think. But guess what? They have a right to live how they want to live. There's certain things I don't like. Guess what? That's not my business, right? If it makes you happy, it makes me even happier that I don't have to worry about what you're doing. So at the end of the day, we need to stop this madness. Now, Lee, let me hit you with some facts. Okay, you a stat man, right? So I'm going to hit you with some stats. All right. Number one, Trump won the popular vote. All right. Now let's look into the popular vote, right? Let's not just put a generic statement out there that Trump won the popular vote. Let's look at the numbers and the groups that voted for him. Trump won. And look, I'm not a Trump backer either. I'm just, listen, for the sake of the argument, I'm just putting out the facts here. Trump won 20% of the black vote this time around.
20%. That's
20%.
Yeah. That's about right.
Now, 2020, when he ran and lost to Joe Biden, he had 13%. So he had a 7-point percentage increase. The year he ran in 2016, when they pumped the racist narrative, it was 8%. Okay, so clearly his polling when it comes to African Americans has risen up. Obviously, not on the same level of Democrats.
Right, 20% is nothing.
For what it's worth, that's what Democrats been doing. They listen. I was born into a Democrat family that told you that because you're black, you have to be a Democrat. Point blank, period. So there's a lot of people that still believe that, but there are people that are that woke up in that 20% and said, you know what, maybe I should just do my homework. For like I said, agree what you want with Trump or agree what you want with Kamala, doesn't matter. Those are the numbers. Now, if you look at that Jaxson Dart clip, he mentioned the military, right? He has a family, uncles that participated and fought hard for this country. Sometimes I believe we forget about those people. And Trump was more, and we know he is. I have family members in the military myself, and they will tell you that Trump is more pro-military than Biden and Kamala would have been.
Oh, come on, Leo. Stop it.
I'm telling you.
Stop that. I was in the military. You got to stop it. No, go ahead and finish.
I'm telling you what they told me.
I know. Okay, go ahead. I'm going to let you finish.
At the end of it all, right, we cannot go in that boy's head and tell him what he should believe. At the end of the day, he had a golden opportunity that was presented to him. Speak at a rally for somebody who you supported. He took it upon himself to do so. The fact that boy has to come and defend his own belief is the problem that I have with this country. Because there's no way that Abdul Carter should have came out and called out his guy. Why? If you have an issue with somebody's politics, you don't bring it out to the forefront. Me and my family, we don't, depending on where you are, because me and my moms and, a lot of my people on the same side, but there's, the siblings, some of us on the same side, some of us are not. But one thing I would never do is go on my social media and come at my family. I may throw a sub that maybe they may catch or may not catch, but it would not be directly. I would not post what they're posting and hashtag it or write a caption and say, is this AI? I may sub them, right? Or I may post something to go against what they said, right? And that was before. Now, again, my days of getting all wild up for whoever you vote for is over. I'm just a wild up person when it comes to freedom of speech. And Lee, I'll give you the last words.
Well, Leo, let me ask you something. When you go in that voter's booth, it's a private thing. And you get to pull that lever, right, fill in the oval, pull the lever, whatever you do for the person that you support. Voting is a private thing that you get to do it, and it's your right, and it's private, right? That's a private thing. So if you keep your private views to yourself when you vote, you can support it if you want to. But when you put it out there for all of America to see, because that's what Jaxson Dart did. It wasn't like it was behind the curtains. Everybody in America saw him introduce President Trump, so he took a side naturally when he did that. When he introduced him, he's saying that he's a supporter. That's okay. He can do that. But he has to understand that there are consequences to doing that and the backlash. You keep saying that he can do it, but Abdul Carter, he can put his views out in the forefront.
And I didn't say that Abdul Carter shouldn't or can't. I said that you just don't call out your teammate like that.
He didn't call him out. He expressed his views.
He posted the clip from him at the rally, and he said, is this AI? This can't be real. You called out your teammate.
Look at what Ray Blackwell said. Carter called him out because Dart is fake.
How is Dart fake?
So what?
How is Dart fake? Because
let me say this. Let me tell you how. Let me tell you how Ray feels and other people feels. You saw Dart doing the gritty and doing the things for the black culture that he's portraying, wearing the gold necklaces and the bling bling like the other black players around. Hold on, let me finish. Doing all that stuff, and then you support someone who most of Black America, that 80 to 85% of the people that you just talked about, feels that the president is against Black America.
You do know who freed. You do know the party who freed the slaves, right? I just want you to, know that.
We're not talking about in 18. We're not talking about in the 1860s. We're talking about in the 2000s. That is flipped. What I'm saying to you, Lil, is this.
I flip it.
You talked about going to the White House, and it's a tradition. Well, let me ask you something, Lil. First of all, people are not going to the White House if they don't believe what's happening in the White House is right towards a group of people. But would you go to the White House and visit the president when you don't see anybody that's on that administration that look like you? Would you do that?
Now
For the
look.
sake,
You
what?
see,
Hold on, let me finish.
now we get
For the
into
sake
feelings.
of just going, you don't see anybody that looks like you that represents you. Come on, man. I
Now we
wouldn't do
getting
it, and you
into
shouldn't either.
feelings and
No, it's
whatnot.
not what. No, we're getting
Now,
it.
Ray, I never said anything about me supporting Trump. Everything that I've been saying is pro free speech, but also locker room politics, right?
It's
Which is
not
something
locker
that
room.
shouldn't get out.
Leo,
Now,
how
Lee,
is it?
let me bring this point up to you.
Okay, okay.
Because you mentioned about, Jaxson Dart doing the gritty and, pretty much acting like he's black, right? Let's call a spade, acting like he's
Absolutely.
black. And we do have white people that act like they're black. But that's where you're going to get hurt, because at the end of the day, you're looking at things from a black and white perspective. And when you get to the politics side, that's where oh no, he's a Republican. That's
Politics,
your fault. Because guess
politics
what?
are black and white,
Guess what?
Leo.
When I went to
Politics is black
college,
and white.
and the reason why I have a horizon that expands, pretty much neighborhood, right, is because I traveled a lot and I got to know a lot of people. So I have friends from all over, all
Right.
different walks of life: Chinese, Asian, Caucasian, obviously my people. Clearly, I grew up with my people, my best friends, everything. So I have a clear understanding. I mean, my dad's side of family, is Muslim. My mom's side of the family is Christian. So I'm able to pretty much go anywhere and gel and relate to people. But I'm not for everybody either, because guess what? I keeps it real, right? So I'm not for everybody. I'm not the most social person out there, but I'm a person that was able to expand my horizon. I had a friend named Joey. He reminded me of Jaxson Dart in some ways, right? We went to school together, right? He was basically my party buddy. Okay, yo, Joe, what's up? Friday night, boy, we out. We out to the party. Where the party at? We out. Okay, Jagged Edge, where the party at? Okay, that was my party buddy, right? Salute to my guy Joe. And I remember one time, right? Mind you, this is a guy that reminds me of Jaxson Dart. He would act like a black person a lot, right? I give it. He remind me of that dude from Most Malibu's Most Wanted. That white dude that was acting black.
I get it.
And I remember one time we had an intellectual conversation, and I forgot how the conversation started, but we was talking about black and racism and how he feel that black people could be racist too. And I remember I had to educate the dude. I was like, listen, racism is something that if you can cause harm, that's racism. Black people can't cause harm to white people. We don't have the economic power. We can't, right? And we don't do it. We will probably hurt ourselves before we hurt a white person.
I agree.
Okay, clearly, literally. And I had to educate dude. But guess what? He believed that we were a certain way too. He believed that because of, despite slavery and everything, that, okay, yeah, sure, I could feel a little pity, but I feel like it could be the same way. I had to educate, bro. At the end of the day, our views was a little bit different there. Guess what? That didn't make me say, oh my God, I thought he was one of us and whatnot. No, I understood, because I'm not emotional when it comes to certain things. I understand that as black people, we've been through a lot, so we tend to be a lot more emotional. Obviously, you look at the athletes, the unhumble ones, they show a lot of emotion, right? And there's a reason for that. It's what we've been through. I get it. But we cannot allow all that to override what is common sense, which is we're going to have people, no matter what gritty they do and what dance they know how to do, that we know how to do and whatnot, and they could talk and dress like us and whatnot, they're going to have different political views, because guess what? That's how they were raised. He was possibly raised as a Republican, and that's fine. No harm, no foul. Same way how a lot of black people were raised and taught to be a Democrat and register as a Democrat. It's the same thing.
Yeah, I agree with you. Everything you said is spot on. But let me say this, Leo. I grew up in a small town in Arkansas. Some of my best friends, people that I love dearly, are Caucasian. They're white. I have no color complex. I have none. And those people from the beautiful city with a smile of wind, Arkansas, I love those people. Go back, love them, see them, hug them, kiss them. I love them. That doesn't erase the fact that when you fire all the black generals, when you dismantle all of the top-ranking black officials in your administration, and you do those type of things, Lil, that's an attack on African Americans. You cannot deny that. So it's not emotional that people feel that way. It's a matter of fact. And if they feel that way, it's because these things are being done. So I'm not emotional about Jaxson Dart. Doesn't bother me at all that Jaxson Dart did that. Doesn't bother me at all. Doesn't bother me at all that John Harbaugh went to visit.
You got to realize too that politics is not only a race thing. For example, in the sports media,
it's an economic thing as well. It's an economic thing.
It's an economic thing. It's an immigration thing. It's a lot. And we have people that debate sports. Like I could tell you, there's people that literally debate sports strictly off of race and the race theory. Ally Jamel Hill is one of them people. Strictly race, man versus woman, black versus white.
I like some of the stuff I don't, but you're right. You're right.
Strictly off of race. Yeah. You have those people, right?
Agree.
And in society and in politics, it's not only race. It's ideologies. It's conservative values or liberal values, right? You know, if you one of them people that want tampons in boys' bathrooms, then guess what? You will lean more left. If you're one of those people that, you know, is throwback, you know, I believe in God, family, who's promoting that more? Because you can't tell me, because there's a religion aspect to it too. And that's what we're missing. Because you can't, and this is where, you know, I don't want to be judgmental because, you know, for the life of me, I can understand how there's certain policies that align with certain religions. I'm just going to leave that there. I'm not even going to die, but I don't want to make people mad here. But I'm going to just leave it like this. There's also religious. There's also immigration that factors into that. There's also, you know, economy. There's different ways and reasons why you would vote for a side, excluding the person. Forget about the person. At the end of the day, we all work a job. And more than likely, depending if you're working in corporate, you probably work for somebody that's Caucasian. And if you do,
that's not the issue,
you might be a racist.
Yeah.
But guess what? Are you going to stop working for that guy?
Possibly.
No, you're not. If he's paying you well.
Possibly.
Unless you find out that he is, maybe.
Possibly.
Maybe he might say something on the job.
If his views are such that it goes totally against mine, yes, I would. But let me say this, Lil.
And that's your moral code. And I get it. I understand it.
I agree with you on a lot of conservative views that you have, that you personally have. You can agree. I'm more conservative than most, but that doesn't mean that I support all of these clearly racist things that the Trump administration is doing. I can't support that, but I'm a conservative guy by nature. So you can be one and the same. However,
and let me be clear too.
Support if you
I don't like everything that Trump has been doing, and I can literally have a laundry list of things that he has done in this administration that I don't like. And at one point, there were things that I did like when he first got elected, and then all of a sudden, it was a hard U-turn, and half the stuff I don't like.
There you go.
And I can tell you that for a fact. I don't like all the immigration rules. Right? There's certain things that I could understand why it was, but then there's certain things that to me is going overboard. Well, especially when it comes to immigration and that whole visa thing and green card thing. There's certain things that I'm just like, you're doing.
Well, I'll say this, and I know we got to move on. The attack of Black America is something that me and a lot of other people, the Abdul Carters and a lot of the players in NFL are rightly on the side of right, because that administration has and is attacking Black people's way of life, removing Black people and high-ranking officials, firing Black generals, things of this nature. That's a fact too, Lil, and we have to throw that out there. But to end it all, because I know that we got to move on, Jaxson Dart has the right to support Donald Trump. He has the right to introduce him. I don't have anything against him for doing that, but he also has to understand the backlash that can come from it, and he has to have the shoulders to handle that backlash and not wither in his own, you know what. That's the last thing I'll say.
And in closing, as we had an explosive topic, a very lengthy topic, I'm over here sweating. Okay, I would say this: the Giants, they got to figure it out. And I like what Jameis Winston said. I like his speech there. And that's why you needed Jameis Winston in your locker room.
Absolutely.
Exactly why. And I'm glad they brought him back because they need that more so than ever right now.
He'll bring them together, Leo. He'll bring them together.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. And that's why you pay a guy like that.
Absolutely.
Okay. And hopefully they're able to get it together because right now this team has a lot of hype. And the last thing you want is a season to be over before it begins.
It can explode very quickly, Leo. It can explode very quick. Good topic, though, man. Good topic.
Definitely. And we are going to move on. We still got 2 more topics to go. And we are going to move into the NBA. Salute to you, Ray, even if we disagreed a little bit there. We're going to move on to the NBA. Will Adam Silver's new 3-2-1 lottery system prove to be an effective anti-tanking method? Leader, Mike is yours.
Man, look, Adam Silver wants to tinker with the NBA way too much. Way too much. Look, man, all of sports lotteries and drafts are made for the bad teams to get better players so that they can be better and compete, right? That's what the draft is about. So if 3 or 4 teams tank to try to get the number 1 pick, so what? It happens in every sport. Football is different because football players are just made up of a different mentality, right? But tanking, he's doing too much. He's teetering with the game. I hate that about Adam Silver. He always trying to tinker. He's the one commissioner that's so emotionally spent that anything that the media, and a lot of it is media driven because really, Leo, fans don't give a crap about those teams tanking. They really don't. But it's media driven, and anything that comes up with Adam Silver, he wants to try to make something to change it. And it's really screwing up everything. Nobody really understands the 3-2-1 lottery system. When they implement that system, it's still going to be a mess because you are dealing with the bottom teams. And Leo, in the NBA, when they play 82 games, who gives an F about the bottom 5 teams in the league? Nobody. So trying to fix this when you got teams battling for playoff spots and some of these bottom teams don't have great superstars, it's not even of importance. It's not relevant. And so I can't stand the fact that Adam Silver always tries to fix things that don't need to be fixed. So you're going to make sure that the bottom team, if they have the worst record, they don't get more ping pong balls than the other teams. Whoop-de-doo. The worst teams haven't been getting the number 1 draft pick anyway. So this is, to me, is a lot to do about nothing. And I get sick and tired of Adam Silver talking about tanking, trying to fix things that you just leave it alone and let these bad teams, if you want to really help the league, let the bad teams get some good players and stay out of the lottery and get better. That's my take.
I can't say I disagree. I know we had an explosive topic just now, and a lot of people want us to continue that debating train. We'll see if it continues, but for the most part, I agree. I think that Adam Silver's latest method when it comes to trying to fix tanking is going to be a disaster. And it's crazy because I still, it's funny because we have a debate in itself about tanking. Like, is tanking even an issue to begin with? That's a debate in itself. And I know I've been very vocal about it, about it being a problem, but really the problem I have in theory is about the length of the schedule, which makes tanking more of a highlight.
Yep.
And also the integrity of the game.
Yep.
When it's like, okay, Stevie Wonder can see that you're tanking. That's the tanking I have an issue with. When you're taking people out of the game and it's obvious, like, bro, can you like act like you're not trying to tank, even if you are?
Leo, can I ask you a question? When Utah tanked and pulled their players out of the fourth, they were leading and pulled all of their starters out and put the subs in and they tanked. Did their fans stop coming to the games after that?
I don't know why they would be coming to begin with, but
but they didn't though, Leo. They didn't because you know why? They wanted them to do it.
Yeah, and I get it. I get the fans want them to do it. I just think when it's obvious and blatant, that's a problem because you can't talk about the integrity of the game and then come at gambling and talk about the integrity of the game. Even though it's 2 different things, it's still the integrity of the game. It's still in the book of integrity. Keep your integrity. Yeah, you could tank, but Don't make it that obvious. That's the only thing. But is it a big problem? Maybe it was overblown, right? Now, what's the difference between a team winning 15 games or winning 19 games? It's
Right.
really not it's not a major difference. If it's a bad team, it's a bad team. You think I'm going to be spending my hard-earned money working over 40 hours a week to come see the Brooklyn Nets to buy a ticket to watch them? Hell no, I'm not. And I'm not going to watch them on TV either. So yeah, I get it. Maybe tanking was overblown. Now, and that happens with the media. The media takes things and they make it bigger than what it is.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
because Adam Silver is so media driven,
Yep.
he's going to fall into the trap. And that's exactly what he did.
That's what he
Now, the new rule, if you look at it more directly, I believe is going to kill Adam Silver's most popular move to begin with, which is the playing tournament. Because this rule gives middle of the pack teams more leverage now. So now you can't just bottom out. Right? So if you're around that 9-10 seed, you're in prime position to land that number 1 overall.
You get more ping pong balls if you're in 8, 7, 8, 9,
and
10.
Guess what? That's the playing. Yeah. That's the playing seed.
Absolutely.
So now you look at it more directly. If you're Charlotte from this year, and let's pretend that this rule was implemented this season, or you're the Magic, and you're weighing out your options, okay? Should we try to win the play-in tournament and obviously we're not winning a championship, or should we land a guy like AJ DeBasa? Like what makes sense?
Yeah.
So now you got decisions to make. So to me, and that was one of the only moves that I could say in the last couple of years that I think Adam Silver really like hit home, because Adam Silver has been a mess. He's the worst commissioner of professional sports, point blank period. I said that before and I'm going to say that again. But one thing I can never really down him on was that playing tournament, because I thought that playing tournament made the regular season more competitive earlier.
Yep. I like to play. Great point. I like to play in tournament. Now that part I do like. I think that was a good. But again, he goes from 180, complete 180 on this stuff, and he needs to stop that.
And think about it. I'm glad Ray brought that up, because think about how bad San Antonio was. Yep. They was able to land Wemby because they were the worst team, and they got Wemby, right? So they had the highest odds. I believe they had the highest odds when they got Wemby to get him, and they got him.
But
so
that's the draft.
And now the Spurs are better. Now the Spurs are 1 game away from the NBA Finals.
Yeah, that's what it's made. That's what it's for.
Literally. So, yeah, this is a big mess by Adam Silver.
Yeah.
Unequivocally, without a doubt. Now, another point that you have to factor in here. What about these low market teams? Now it's going to be harder for them to acquire star talent now, because some of the worst teams are the low market teams. And now guys don't want to go there anyway. So now you're putting a higher emphasis on, free agency and trading before the trade deadline. And that's going to be a problem. Now the market is inflated. Think about how Desmond Bane and Mikal Bridges went for 4 and 5 first-round picks. Now that's going to happen more often. So to me, I just think that Adam Silver, he heard the media. The media took something that was normal. Yeah, did it happen excessively this year? Was it blatant this year? Sure. But that's what happens. That's what the media do. That's their job, to make stories that we can talk about on new media and on mainstream media. And they pushed it up to the forefront. And what did Adam Silver do? He fell for the bait.
Well said, because social media, and to your point, these shows have to have stuff to talk about, man. And that's a non-factor, just like load management is a non-factor. All of that is a non-factor. You hit it on the head, Lil, and I'll live in with this. If you shorten the season, you will alleviate a lot of that stuff. There's no doubt about it.
I mean, to me, it makes sense. I think the worst team in basketball should get the best player.
Absolutely.
That's how I see it.
Absolutely.
Anyway, we are going to move on to the final topic here on today's show. Explosive episode thus far. We're going to keep it rolling. Is Kirby Smart's SEC breaking away comments a leverage play? Is it a leverage play? Do we think it makes any sense? Lee, I'll let you hit it off first again.
Yeah, I think Kirby Smart and the president, the commissioner of the SEC, they know what they're doing. They think that they're flexing their muscle. We'll break away, we'll make our own rules, and then we'll play. As if, Leo, that people view the SEC now the way they viewed it 5 years ago. They don't. They don't. See, that's the problem with the SEC schools and the people that are affiliated with the SEC. You haven't won a championship in 3 years. You're not the most dominant conference anymore. You don't have the most revenue anymore. That's the Big Ten. So you come out and you're flexing your muscle as if we will break away and we'll crown our own champion because, in essence, we are more deeper. The SEC is more deeper with good teams, but who wants to see the SEC champion not be in the college football playoff, Leo? Nobody. Absolutely nobody. Their season in and all of the other schools are playing off, and you got an Ohio State or an Indiana playing who has the best team, who's been ranked number one all season, and the SEC schools are left out. It would be a disaster for the SEC. And so that's, to me, it's a lot of leverage. It's a lot of talk so that, this idea of floating 24 teams for the playoffs has came out, and the SEC certainly is against that. And so they want to get their way. They're against it without getting automatic qualifiers. So they want like 6 automatic qualifiers, 7. So they're trying to get their way, and I think it is a leverage play. Look, SEC football, I like it. But I like all of college football, and the SEC is not the most dominant conference anymore. The Big Ten is top heavy. The top 4 or 5 teams in the Big Ten, if you match them up against the top 4 or 5 teams in the SEC, the Big Ten wins. And it happens every year when they play the bowl games, how these Big Ten teams dominate them. So this is leverage to me. This is the SEC trying to flex their muscle. I don't think much is going to come out of it.
Kirby Smart is high on his own supply, just like the rest of these SEC coaches. Okay, they're high on their own supply. They are, first of all, as a coach in today's era of college sports, they're some of the highest paid people of any job, any profession that will be in your state.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they have an opportunity to ditch teams if they want to, ally Lane Kiffin, and get more money and get more opportunities. Right. So you look at the SEC, still known as the best conference in football. I understand what you said about the Big Ten, and the Big Ten has been given in the works. But from a national perspective, they're still known as the best conference in the game. They have the best TV deals and whatnot. And so they high on their own supply. They get cocky. Right now they feeling themselves. And that's a problem that I have. Now, when you talk about Kirby Smart's comments, it's another example of the SEC being a spoiled, bratty conference. Now, I did like what he had to say about the NIL before I coming back to the SEC breaking away, because I do believe that they have a problem because we don't even know what the NIL. How do we define NIL really? So out of order right now. And you have coaches that are tampering with players in the transfer portal and whatnot. And to me, that's unorganized. Now, what would make college football or basketball or in general even more unorganized is the SEC breaking away.
Right.
All right. Now, I get it. I understand. The SEC got 2 things going against them right now. College football expansion and the NIL. Now, the college football expansion is really dependent on how you look at it. Because when you think about it, all these 9-3 teams that miss narrowly the college football playoffs in the SEC could actually benefit from more expansion.
Absolutely.
But the way how they looking at it is, man, under this old BCS system that we had, we won 9 out of 16 national championships from 1998 to 2013. And now with this college football thing, we ain't getting the 9 now. Now they against us. The committee wants us to fail.
Yep.
That's emotion right there.
Yep. And they're not getting the money that they was getting off of the BCS.
Exactly. And now what's scaring them even harder is the NIL, because now the playing field is a little bit more even now.
Yep. Because you know what, Leah, with NIL and transfer portal, this is the thing that people didn't recognize about that. When you talk about where the centers of money and power is, it's not in those small towns that these SEC schools are in. It's not in those states. It's in the oil money in Texas, right? It's in all of these other big cities that can generate money and wealth, right? And not Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Now, you might have some alumni that have money, but it's not a power center of money. That's why Alabama has lost out in recruiting most recently, and other SEC schools have, because they used to live off the premise that we're the only conference that can get you an NFL. Well, exactly. Now you can go other places, get paid, and still go to the NFL.
Yeah, and is the NFL really as big of a necessity as it once was? Because, you're making a lot of money, and now podcasting is a new thing now.
Yeah.
And now you can make if you know how to work with money, you can make more money off of the money you get. You don't even need the NFL like you used to before. And I agree with that. The SEC was promoting that this is the pipeline to the NFL, the Absolutely. SEC to NFL pipeline. And now things got more even. Now the Big 12 was giving them the works. Now the lower schools have an opportunity to go up against them and whatnot. Now, a player could be swayed off of the football team because of NIL, or I could pay you more money now. So now things has become more even, and they don't know how to handle that.
Absolutely.
They don't know how to handle that. And Kirby Smart had his moment, right? They won back-to-back national championships in 2021 and 22. And guess what? Now they're not on that same type of level. They're still a good team, but they're not on that type of level anymore. So I think what we see.
And none of the SEC is. And that's the problem, Leo. That's the problem.
And I believe that's why they're pumping this narrative of breaking away, because they want people to say, you know what? We need you.
Yep.
We need the SEC. And quite frankly, we do. But the SEC need college football, and I'm going to leave it at
that. Very well said. To think that they can leave and we're going to want to watch Mississippi State and Vandy play every week. No, we're not. We're not. We watch Vandy because they had one or two good players, but that's not the game that we want to watch, right? People want to see these other rivalries. People want to see how well the Big 12 score points. There are a lot of other intriguing things out there besides watching the SEC play each other. It's great competition because they know each other so well, Leo, and they can, when those teams play each other, people say they're so good. No, they play each other every year, and they know each other very well. When they play the Big Ten, who they don't play against and play a different brand of football, they get smacked. That should tell you a lot about succession. They're not going anywhere, bro.
I agree with that. Don't be high on your own supply, SEC and Kirby Smart. Okay, and that's how I'm gonna leave it. Ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up another explosive episode of the Real Live Show. I had fun. It's been a long day. I worked earlier today. My voice is tired. I've been talking all day. I talk for a living. So that's part of my job, rather. Not the be all end all, but it's definitely a significant part of my job. So I'm tired. I want to chill, enjoy the rest of my Friday night, get my popcorn, my Pepsi with ice, about 7 cubes, okay? And I want to chill and watch a movie and go to bed. So, Lee, I want to thank you for coming on this show. And we're going to push it out on the platforms to Spotify, to YouTube. If you want to rewatch a segment, if you missed the show live and you want to watch it, The Real Little Show on Spotify and YouTube. And Lee, feel free to plug yourself in before we get out.
I'm every Sunday at 6:30 p.m. Central Time after the Buzzer Show with Lee Jones. I love bringing my guy Real Lil on there. We chop it up just like this, and we stay on the main topics. So if you want to know the real Lil and the real deal after the buzzers, we gonna give it to you, and we gonna tell you how we feel. And we ain't gonna sugarcoat it like a lot of these shows. That's why I like my man Real Lil. We don't have to agree. That's my guy. He can have his opinion, I can have mine, but we always going to bring it like this. And I appreciate you, brother, for having me on.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming on. And one last word. Knickerbocker. Okay. The NBA finals. Hopefully, listen, I might be able to do it's leaning that way that I'll probably be on your show on Sunday. But go Knickerbockers, if anything. Okay. Go Knickerbockers. It's our time. And I'm gonna leave it at that. Ladies and gentlemen, we out. Peace.
All right.
Sports, politics, conspiracy theories. We are here to give you our unique perspectives on things happening in the world. It's the one and only The Real Lil on The Real Lil Show.